Let's continue working on the fifth section. Let's bring our control curves back into view. And if we play back from frame 180, notice how the character throwing the weight up and him falling afterwards when the weight's on his chest is way too slow. We need to fix that. We need to adjust the timing and spacing there. And here's a great time to get rhythm involved too. So right now, if we were to put a rhythm to this, here's what it'd be. Zoom, boom. So it's like he's going in slow motion or something. When we want more of a zoom, boom. Okay, so we're going to have zoom, and then there's going to be a slight hold, and then boom, the character falls. So in order to do that, we'll select all of our upper body controls and the arms, deselect the hips again. Remember, we'll work on those a little bit later. And with all of them selected, we'll need to move up the time, a few of our keys here, to adjust the timing so we can speed it up. So we'll select the range, shift select the range from frames 196 all the way to where the character lands, and even where we have our moving hold on frame 230. And we'll select those keys and let's move them up some. So that now our first key lies on frames 192 and our last 226. Let's now do a playback to see how our animation is looking now. And notice that's pretty good. The character's throwing up the weight much faster like we want him to. There's a slight hold, but now notice at the end where the character's falling, that is still too slow. So we need to also move up these keys to speed up the timing at which the character's falling. So we'll select this range from frames 212 to 226, and we'll move up these keys some. So that our first key now lies on frames 206 and our last 220. Let's see how this looks now when we hit play. And notice that's much better. If we go ahead and do a rhythm to this, it's zoom, boom. Okay, just like what we wanted it to be. But remember, we always don't want to rely in our workspace for the playback. So now is a great time to do a play blast. We'll hide our curves, find a nice view to play back from so our character will stay in shot, and start one off. Here it is. Okay, so the movement is better, but I think he can fall a little bit faster. So here's where I want to introduce a little technique, a really cool technique actually, which is using weighted tangency to adjust our timing. And what that will allow us to do is speed up our animation and also add a little bit more hold, which we'll be working on a little bit later. Rather than adding extra keys, we can just adjust the influence of our F curves. So this is going to be awesome. Let's go and bring back our NURBS curves, select our barbell control and our center of gravity control, and with them selected, let's go to our perspective and graph view. And once there, we'll want to make sure that only our translate Y curves are in view. And in order to apply weighted tangency, what we'll do is select these two keys where our character is falling, and right mouse button click in our graph editor, go down to curves, and it is getting cut off in the video, but you'll still be able to navigate to it. It should be the last selection called weighted tangency or weighted tangents. Select it, and notice now what happens to the tangency on our keys. They become thicker. That means that there's weighted tangency. But we're not done yet. What we need to do now is free up our tangent weights. So with these keys still selected, let's go to this icon to select free tangent weight. Now notice the ends of our tangent handles open up, meaning now we have free tangent weights. And watch what we're able to do. If we select like the left or the right half of the tangent handle, and middle mouse button click and drag, make sure we're in one of our manipulators, translate or rotate, so we can move them around. And watch what happens when we click and drag. Notice how the influence of our F curve is changing. Okay, without adding extra keys. So again, this is going to be a great tool to use. Let me go ahead and undo that move. I also want to mention that once we apply weighted tangency to one of our F curves, it gets applied to that whole F curve throughout. Not all of the F curves, but just that one particular F curve. So if we were to add it to the translate Z, we'd have weighted tangency all throughout, but the free tangent weight is segregated to that one key that we've added it on. Okay, so now we'll bring back our translate YF curves. Just wanted to show you that. And what we want to do is not adjust both sides. Like, remember how I was moving that right side and both sides were adjusting? We don't want to move both sides. We just want to move one of our sides. So in order to do that, we'll want to break our tangency. And in order to do that, what we'll do is make sure that we have the tangency selected, or we can have our key selected too. But once we do, we'll go up here to this icon and select break tangents. Now notice what happens. Now if we move the right half of our tangent handle, only that half moves. Okay, so now we can go to select the left half because that's what we want to adjust. And with the left half selected, let's hold shift and middle mouse button, click and drag to the left, to our left, to speed up the timing in which the character is falling, like that. And now watch what happens. Let's go ahead and do another play blast. We'll hide our NURBS curves, find a nice view, and start another one off. Here it is. Now notice the character's falling much faster without us adding any extra keys. So do recommend to use weighted tangency whenever you can because it will be of help. But let's move on. We've got that fixed. But remember, just like with the arms, the legs should act as shock absorbers too, and though we don't see the legs, we need to still keep them in mind. So let's bring back our control curves. In order to do that, what we'll do is select our center of gravity control and our barbell control, and we'll adjust this key where we added for our moving hold. So let's go to frame 220, and we'll also get our perspective and graph view involved to get to our graph editor, just so we can see the adjustments we're making, how they're looking in on our F curve. So on that, what we'll do is just translate the character up some. Maybe about, let's see how that looks. Translating them up about right here. So we'll start back and hit play. Alright, great. So now the character is falling, and if you notice, let's go back to our graph editor here. If you notice, there's a little bit of hold in this area before the character begins to rise. So we've not only sped up the timing, but we've also added a little bit of hold in this section, and then the character begins to rise. So that's another cool thing about using weighted tangency, getting that hold. But let's see if we like the timing here. It should be, if we did a rhythm to this, which we should do, the drop would be, the drop and then the rise back should be a zoom, boom. So let's see how it's looking now. And that's what we're getting. So the character's going zoom, boom. If we did a rhythm to that, okay, great. So that's fixed. And for our next fix, what we want to do is make sure that the barbell is hitting our character's chest a little bit faster than it is right now. Because notice, if we go ahead and start back and hit play, okay, it's looking pretty good, but based off of the amount of weight that the character is lifting, that weight would hit his chest faster, which would make him fall as fast as he's falling right now. So for that fix, what we'll do is make sure that the barbell is hitting his chest on about frame 201, a little bit earlier. So on frame 201, let's get our graph editor involved too so we can see the adjustments we're about to make. And on frame 201, let's move the control back and the Z and down in the Y to make sure that the barbell is still on the chest as it should be. And we'll also check out our translate Z to see how our key's looking. Okay, and it looks pretty good there, so we can just really focus on the Y right now. And let's scrub through to see if we like our motion. So it's looking pretty good. If we hit play, here's what we get. Starting back. Okay, so that's looking better. But we do need to adjust this tangency here so it doesn't look so awkward. So the character gets a better flow as it's moving downward. So we'll select the key on frame 201 that we just added, and we'll adjust the tangency on it. So we can move that like that and scrub past a little bit more. We don't want that sinking into his chest as it's doing, so we'll select the left half here of our broken tangency and move it up some, just so that the barbell is still on the character's chest. Alright, excellent. And with these adjustments made, let's go ahead and start back from the beginning, hide our NURBS curves, and do another play blast to see what adjustments we've made for this lesson. So we'll find a nice view. Think about right here is fine, and start another one off. Here it is. Awesome. Now we see that our animation is much more improved. The timing and spacing is fixed to give us more accurate results. But we can see that we're by no means done just yet. But we're close to finishing up this area. And that's what we're going to do in the next lesson.